This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. How's everybody doing this evening? Hope all of you are well. If you're watching us right now live on Facebook, YouTube, and the X, I got to pause here to go back to the X because, you know, the X, Twitter is having issues. I've been saying this for about a week and a half now. They continue to be boneheaded with their ability to stream. And even though we're paying the blue check mark, paying for the blue check mark, very frustrating. Who owns the X? Oh, I don't know. And so get it together, man. It is mind blowing that in this day and age that people can't get it right. But okay, let me go find this video so people on the X can watch us. Uh-oh, I got an echo here. Hold on one second here. We're going to go here again because I have to do it this way. It's the long way to do it. We're going to share and we're going to do this here. Maybe. Nope, we're not going to do it that way. Hold on one second, folks. Let's do it this way. We're going to copy the link. Maybe not. We might be stuck, folks. Oh, let's see here. Try one more time. Does not want to cooperate again this evening. So try it one more time, but it's not going to work. We'll try to put it here on my feed. Maybe it is. Let's see. We'll back out of here. Oh, dude, guess what? We are. Ha ha. We're live. Hey, thanks, X. You got your shit together, and we're live. So thank you for you 6 people out there that are watching us. My God, you know, you'd think that someone like Elon Musk, you know, and all his fancy dancy bazillion dollars would have this shit figured out. I've said shit twice. Now that's three times. All right, I'll stop swearing. Hope everyone is doing well tonight here on the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network. Shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer. Great coffee. Go check them out. Find our link on the top of our X page. You click on it, buy some amazing coffee, and the 15% of that comes back here to the Fanatical, the Fanatical Elves Network. All right. Well, this is our show this week. Leading up, tomorrow night we'll have our Fanatical Elves show itself with myself, with Steve Gill, and with Sam the Man down there in Dallas, Texas. Following that, we'll have Rod Bloom, his brother Jeff, doing the Browns Blitz as they have a fantastic guest coming on. So stay tuned for that tomorrow night at 9:00. Well, I had our earlier show this week on Stirring the Pot, and we talked a little bit about the NFL Combine. It's getting itself started. They had many interviews today, and Todd Monken, the head coach of the Browns, was interviewed yesterday. Andrew Berry was interviewed. The big sort of story, one of the big stories coming out of this, and I know it's not necessarily a story to some of you, but it involves the quarterbacks. Guess what? Oh, we're so surprised, right? Quarterback competition once again. Here, one more thing here. Okay, so there's a quarterback competition in Cleveland. Oh boy, are you surprised? Not I, right? Not you. We have Shedeur Sanders, who finished out the season last year. We have Dylan Gabriel, the other rookie who started the season. And then we have one Deshaun Watson, where all this crap started several years ago with this crazy $230 million guaranteed contract for one Deshaun Watson. We all know, well, most of us know the backstory since that point. But the gist of it is that, Deshaun Watson then got re-injured over a year ago. I'm trying to find this here real quick. Hold on. Pause my train of thought here as we go back to one other thing I want to check here. All right. So we all know what happened with Deshaun Watson at the end of the previous season. He got injured, and he's been rehabbing from this another torn Achilles, right? So he has been recovering from that since before last season. So in the press conferences yesterday with Andrew Berry, and that's where the ball started rolling here, where they started saying that there would be a quarterback competition. Now, up to this point, there's been a lot of speculation, and a lot of us here on the Fanatical Elves Network and other podcasters and writers have thought that Deshaun Watson's time is over in Cleveland. That basically he's collecting paychecks, and that he'll be released after there'll be a time period next year when the next NFL season starts, that he'll be released. Then this ginormous, stupid contract will go away, or for the most part. So now it's being indicated by the organization, Todd Monken again today, indicated that there would be a competition amongst these quarterbacks. I get it. It's a song and dance. It's what they're trained to do, and that's what they're going to do. It's frustrating on a lot of fronts. I see this as frustrating because you have an old guy, football guy, Todd Monken, coming into the business. So a lot of you are enamored right now because he's a football guy. He's not a robot like Kevin Stefanski, and therefore he's going to be so much better. We'll see. What I don't like from the start, and I know some of you will say, well, you got to have a competition. Like, okay, I guess then that's where this whole story is just a complete mess. And this is where the words like dysfunction come from when we talk about the Cleveland Browns. It's because we have taken on this ginormous contract of Deshaun Watson, right? That was where it started. Then earlier, before last season, the owners came out. Jimmy Haslam said that ship has sailed in response to Deshaun Watson, indicating to most people that were paying attention at the time that this situation with Deshaun is over. We're not going to see him again on the playing field, which for most of us Browns fans was, unfortunately, we were all kind of happy when he went away with the injury. It's sort of, we thought at the time, like, it'll make it easier. Well, then we get into this stupid quarterback competition last year with the two rookies and Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Obviously, things have changed. Joe Flacco gets traded, Kenny Pickett gets traded, and so we're down to the two rookies. Shedeur ended the season, and here we are. Now, I get that you got a $230 million man that you still have to pay, and why wouldn't you consider him? And I know that some of you have talked, and some people who have analyze his team, have said that Todd Monken really has always liked Deshaun Watson. He also has always liked Shedeur Sanders. If you listen to his conversations, and even today he talked about Shedeur Sanders. Where I get really frustrated with all of this is it's a song and dance, and most of you Browns fans have seen this song and dance and the politics behind all of this crap for years, and nothing really has changed. And yeah, we have a 60-year-old now football guy at the helm, but who the hell cares? Us Browns fans who've been around a long time have seen this crap year and year after year, blah, 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 blah. The difference that we want to see are wins. Now, I know some of you will say, well, I don't care, who's back there as long as, we get wins. And I just kind of basically said that. But where it's frustrating from my point of view, and the angle that I see this is that you have, obviously, I get the whole concept of you got to have some sort of competition, but like how Todd Monken described the situation today with a going back in time and talking about how, reflecting how, like, if you were teaching a history class and you had students and you just gave them a grade ahead of time and blah blah blah, why you wouldn't do it that way. Understandable. But Deshaun Watson is coming off of a major, major, major injury again. The guy didn't do jack squat when he was here to begin with. We all know that. If you want to go back and look at the highlights, fine. Yeah, he had one good game where he came back and he helped the team win against Baltimore several years ago. It was a great game. Greg Newsome got an interception. All of that, fantastic. But if you look at all the tape of Deshaun Watson, he was horrible. We all saw it. We all were like, we're pulling our teeth out, going, "Oh my God, this guy just is horrible." Why do you think, and why does the Browns organization want to now put this shit out there about this guy, saying how it's a quarterback competition and everybody's got a fair shake at it? I mean, today Todd Monken's describing Shedeur Sanders and his ability to escape and all of this in the pocket, and how that was a little bit, he wasn't expecting that, and it surprised him in watching tape of Shedeur this year. And he said all these glowing things about Shedeur, and then at the very last second he says, but Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel are doing these things too. Like, why do you have to say that, coach? Why? Like, you focus. If you're talking about Shedeur, give Shedeur his props. Instead, you give him his props and then you take it away in a split second because you feel like you got to keep everybody involved. So this is where I don't really like the whole, and then his concepts, and I know some of you will wholeheartedly disagree with this, but his take about, well, the players make the decisions on who plays on the field, not the coach, not me. Then why the hell are you the coach? I understand where he's coming from. I understand where Todd Monken is coming from as far as how the players, the kid, the student out there, he's he's responsible for if he wants to be out there on the playing field or not. I get that from the coaching perspective. I've been a coach. I get what he's trying to say, but it's, again, why say something like that? I think a lot of us Browns fans have been around this organization and we are so damn loyal. It was interesting listening to 97.1 this morning here in Columbus. The DJ's there, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's played NFL football, and I don't want to chop his name up. So basically, they were talking about the Browns and Browns fans. And there was this story about this guy. He wrote in, he says, this father was a Browns fan. His wife is a Bengals fan, and the kid is trying to decide, does he want to be a Browns fan or does he want to be a Bengals fan? And the topic got into the whole thing. If you're a Browns fan, especially at this point in this stage in this organization's lifespan, you are a loyal person. It speaks to your character, is what they talked about. And us Browns fans, we understand that, right? You are loyal. You are loyal like no other. The people that surround you that aren't Browns fans, they probably aren't as loyal and have great character, especially when it comes to that loyalty like you. So give yourself a pat on the back. That's my psychology moment there. The whole thing with this competition now, it's like they've opened this freaking can of worms again. They didn't, I understand, again, I get it, but you're opening another can of worms. And the frenzy and the media and the clicks and all this crap are going to continue to be out of control. And it sucks. As Browns fans, what really sucks is that we are stuck. And I've seen some people, it's like torture right now because you've got this bazillion dollar man who we got tied to because of our boneheaded owner who wanted to take a chance on some guy who had all sorts of a horrible backstory and thinking that he's going to change his organization's luck. You made a deal with the devil. I wrote articles about this with the Dog Pound Daily back in the day when we first got Deshaun Watson, and that definitely is what is happening right now. Instead of, and I've seen other takes on this, and I tend to agree with some of the other takes. I know a lot of you don't care much for Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith, former great NFL running back. his take, he came right out and said, if I'm coach, I'm naming Shedeur Sanders my starting quarterback. Why the hell not? The guy finished the season. I know he was a rookie. Give him his props. Give him that opportunity. You got to make that identify with that. That's where I get really frustrated with this organization and how they just continue to just they run into them. I mean, they can't get out of the way of themselves. They're simply just doing their, it's what's the word, insanity, right? When you continue to do something and like you're insane if you can't, you're mad. It's madness, and that's basically what this team is doing right now. I was hopeful a little bit that maybe this football guy Todd Monken would, because of his football personality, would somehow manage to have maybe a little bit more control and have a little bit more say. I know some of you are still enamored with like, oh, well, this guy is so much better than the robot Kevin Stefanski, but who the hell cares if you're a macho football guy, coach? You can say all of that, all the football stuff, but you're still not getting away from still the same damn thing. You're still going to have this supposed, quarterback competition. Deshaun Watson is a shell of himself. And if anybody in the planet, if you're really honest with yourself and you're thinking, and that's where it frustrates me because this football staff and this Browns organization don't seem to, they might get it, but how they're playing this out in the public eye is just ridiculous. So Watson's was never himself when he was here. And if you think that coming off of a major injury like he just came off of is going to help him, in that estimation, I'm a big Shedeur fan. A lot of you know that. So, with that in mind, Shedeur should have a lock on the being the starter at the beginning of the season. But it's a game. It's politics. It is what it is. It's the NFL. I can tell you right now, and the Browns are smart, which I don't know. I don't feel that way most of the time right now. Shedeur Sanders is selling jerseys. Half the Browns fan base walked away from this team when they signed Deshaun Watson. Maybe not half, but there's a good percentage of fans that I talk to and you talk to on a daily basis who have stopped rooting for this Cleveland Browns team because they traded for Deshaun Watson. Now, a lot of you who are pro Browns and say, well, the hell with those fans. Well, that's the fan base. And you'd think that a fan base that is already in a tizzy and an organization that doesn't seem like it's got its crap together would try to do some things proactively as they approach this new dome stadium that they're building in 2029. I talk to family members and friends on almost a daily basis who are anti-Browns now. They were hardcore season ticket holders, and they aren't that at all. They will not step inside the new dome stadium. I'm sorry that they won't, but they have their right to their opinion and what they want to do. And what the Browns are doing right now, I just don't feel much confidence. I've seen some people talk about this too, this idea that, I mean, this is a pretty low point right now. And I think it's because we're stuck in this insanity, this madness. It doesn't seem to want to go away. You would think that we have one more year of this crap with Deshaun Watson. I'm holding out hope that that's where it ends. But then here's where I get baffled by this even more. I talked about this the other day in Stirring the Pot. What the hell is going on with you people talking about Malik Willis, thinking that he's going to be the end all and the next franchise quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? Why the hell are you talking about this guy? He has his NFL experience is so limited in the times that he's been in the games are so poor. Go back, and I know some of you aren't big stats people, but go look at the stats. He has almost limited starting games. Shedeur Sanders is 1,000 times better than this Malik Willis. I'm sorry. I mean, Malik Willis has done jack squat in his 4 years in the NFL. And some of you want anoint him as the next Browns NFL starting quarterback. What is wrong with you people? You're talking about, well, we can get him for $30 million and $70 million over the next 2 seasons. Well, and then he could be a bridge after we get rid of Deshaun and save us so much more money. Oh my God, your standards are just so low, Browns fans. If you're set on taking Malik Willis, my gosh, what is wrong with you? Now listen, the other guy that I talked about the other day, the rookie, this Ty Simpson. Okay, Munkin talked about him, and I guess Munkin knows everybody. He talked about his trying to recruit him when he was younger, and Ty Simpson stayed at Alabama. I don't understand where this conversation is going either. Like, if the Browns want to take somebody like a Ty Simpson, fine. But like we talked about, some of you talk about Shedeur Sanders and dropping to the 5th round. I can't see Ty Simpson. If that guy gets drafted in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, I'm like, what is wrong with you NFL teams? The kid's got 15 starts. 15 starts. All of this past year. That was basically his experience coming out of college. You go back historically and look at any NFL quarterback. Historically, there are like virtually none NFL quarterbacks, zero practically, that have had any type of success, consistent success, that have had such small number of college games. It's just ridiculous. Malik Willis, Ty Simpson, it just makes me gross. It's just like, special. I mean, Ty Simpson, okay, fine. He's coming out of college. Give him an opportunity. Malik Willis has been in the league for a few years now. What, 4 years? Our standards are so low here in Cleveland. If you are getting on the air or you are on social media trying to suggest that Malik Willis is the next guy that the Browns should be targeting, and the fact, and then you got these beat writers, and we talk about Mary Kay all the time. Stop listening to Mary Kay. Stop listening to Tony Grossi. Stop listening to these people. Listen, I've listened to them over the decades, like some of you. I get it. These guys have been around for a while, and I've had some respect for these guys over the years. But some of this crap that is being put out there, Mary Kay saying, well, the Browns are, interested in, like, for God's sakes, man, the Browns are interested in every gosh dang player coming out of the NFL draft. It's the wording, it's what they're putting out there. It's how you're trying to get clicks and people to come over to listen to you and read your crap, and it's crap. So if you're a smart Browns fan, stop paying attention to these people, because it's driving the regular Browns fan crazy that you guys are paying attention to the beat writers that are just throwing out crap and you're buying into it. Be smarter than that, man. Be smarter. So there you go. A little frustrated. Mary Kay can just, Tony Grossi just says whatever. They're just old and they're beyond their time. So, all right. Let's pause for a quick commercial break here on the Johnny Cleveland podcast. I'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Can't get that out. Tongue-tied. So, the combine starts. A lot to talk about. A lot of great talent there that we're going to watch in Indianapolis. I recently wrote an article for Dog Pound Daily that came out actually earlier today about one wide receiver. I suggest you go out and check that out. But that wide receiver's name is Jeff Caldwell. Maybe you've heard of him. You can Google him right now. Kid is played 1 year with the Cincinnati Bearcats. Had about 450 yards, 6 touchdowns, 30-some receptions. Nothing spectacular that you would say, oh boy. He had 3 seasons at Lindenwood University outside of St. Louis, Missouri. That's where in his last year there as a junior, he had, I think, like 50 or 60 receptions for about 1,000 yards and about 11 or 12 touchdowns. Turn on the tape and you'll see why this kid is really rising up draft boards. The one periodical recently, sports writer for Sports Illustrated, had him going to the Browns potentially in the 4th round. And I talked about this in my article. Historically, the Browns and Andrew Berry and the organization, when they look at drafts, they really haven't concentrated a lot on the wide receivers when we have the draft. I know it's always a constant complaint of Browns fans after these drafts, like, why didn't we draft a wide receiver? This year, the Browns have the 6th pick and the 24th pick. There are 3 wide receivers that are being touted quite a bit going high in the draft, including Carnell Tate and this last name Lemon kid out of USC. Either would be good, I'm sure. But if you look just at the Browns and their position in the drafting and how they look at wide receivers, Andrew Berry and those folks just don't make it a priority. They haven't drafted any, but they didn't draft any wide receivers last year. They've drafted 6 wide receivers since 2019. Those include the likes of Cedric Tillman, David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Jamari Thrash, Donovan Peoples-Jones. These are guys that we had some hopes on. They were drafted in the mid rounds, so 3rd round, 5th round, 4th round, but they've amounted to jack squat. So this, could this Jeff Caldwell coming out of Cincinnati be a little bit different? There's always that hope that we have as Browns fans. Oh, maybe this guy could be a difference maker. And that's what you're going to continue to do. Try to take some chances. The good thing with this Caldwell kid is he's almost 6'5", a tremendous leaping ability. So reportedly, he's jumped a 12-foot broad jump already leading up into this combine. So he will get a lot of looks. A lot of people will be talking about him this week. So pay attention to that name. Watch him on the days. I think the wide receivers are out there in the combine. I want to say, is it Thursday or maybe Friday that they're going to be out there? So stay tuned. Watch the NFL Network for that. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make, or the Browns, would he be one of those folks that the Browns would be intrigued by? I think any NFL team would be intrigued by him, but what does he do? How does this kid adapt to the NFL? Obviously, that's always a question mark. And then beyond. The Browns Andrew Berry will likely try to trade again like he's done in the past. He got Amari Cooper that way. He got Jerry Jeudy that way. He has some established, tight end right now in Harold Fannin, great rookie season. So I think the Browns are going to still be cautious. I think if Carnell Tate is there at 6, honestly, I think the Browns pass on him if he's there. I know a lot of you will be pissed off to high heaven if that's the case, but I just don't think the Browns prioritize wide receivers. And then the Carnell Tate will be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Or the Baltimore Ratbirds. So if they pass on him, there's also this guy Lemon. Potentially he could be drafted by the Browns, but I just don't see the Browns trying to draft one of these guys in the 1st or 2nd round, despite the idea that a lot of us know that the Browns do need some more help in the wide receiver department. So let's see what happens in free agency. Let's see what happens with some potential trades for the Browns for wide receiver. The other exceptional need is the offensive line. Again, pay attention to trades, pay attention to free agency. Let's see what Andrew Berry and the Browns organization does on that end. So we'll talk more as the combine finishes up this week. It's going to be a lot of people watching on NFL Network, and I'll be watching, and we'll talk about it more later this week. We'll talk about it tomorrow night on our Fanatical Elves Network show. Steve Gale again and Sam the Man coming on. Changed of sport. Let's talk a little bit about the Cavaliers briefly. The Cavaliers won their game last night against the New York Knickerbockers. The Cavaliers are doing some really good things over the last few weeks. They traded for James Harden. Unfortunately, James Harden broke one of his fingers, but not badly. It's not a bad break. It's one of those sort of fractures that you can play through. He was listed as questionable going into this game, but he did not play in this game tonight. They're playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Many of you on social media and La La Land have been panicking all afternoon going, oh man, the sky is falling. James Harden, is now hurt. He'll be fine. He's James Harden. I'm not worried. I'd be a little bit more worried about Donovan Mitchell. He's having a continuing issue with his groin. And, if you know anything about groin injuries, they just don't go away. And if you're putting a lot of um, time and athleticism into running up and down a court, that could be a little bit of a longer injury than some suspect. We'll see what happens with that. But the Cavs have been playing really well. And shout out to my man Dean Wade, one of the glues to this Cleveland Cavaliers team, despite some of you boneheaded people out there trying to rip him and say, oh, he's on one night, he's off one night, he's not consistent. I said, you have no idea what you're talking about. I know I went on a rant a couple weeks ago about Dean and people being stupid about it. But I'll just remind everybody that there's more to basketball than just scoring baskets. If you look consistently at his stat sheet, and not even you don't even have to look at the stat sheet. If you just pay attention to the game, which a lot of you don't, you just are watching the ball and you're looking at the ball go through the hoop. You're not paying attention to everything else that goes on the court. You don't have to. That's not your job. But if you do pay attention to basketball, you'll see that there's a guy like Dean Wade who does all the other little things that no one's paying attention to. He's running the court. He's getting the loose balls. He's mixing it up. He's involved in getting everybody else involved. The tipped pass, a broken play, a steal of the ball, all these things are constantly happening. And Dean Wade, by the way, just another pointer, it was plus 22 when on his minutes when he was in the game, which is the best for the team last night. He's had a few of those this season. So people don't pay attention to that. You should. And stop bashing somebody like Dean Wade. Yeah, I know he averages 6 points and 5 rebounds and blah, blah, blah. And that's just not impressive. Well, the guy's been with the team for 8 years. And if you want to really be honest, if you really go talk to the real coaches, like Kenny Atkinson, or before that, JB Bickerstaff, who I don't like anyway, but JB Bickerstaff, they all said the same damn thing about somebody like Dean Wade. He is the glue, one of the glues to that Cleveland Cavaliers team. And if you feel otherwise, you are a stupid Cavalier fan. I'll just leave it at that, and you can go jump in a lake as far as I'm concerned. So the Cavs are winning, but there are a few injuries. The sky is not falling. They're going to be just fine. They're going to be fine. Don't panic. The Cavaliers have been doing a lot better. So just enjoy the fact that they have been getting better. There's still a lot to the season. They got the entire month of March coming up. They got some games in April, and then the playoffs start. So pace yourselves. Breathe. Pace yourself. Breathe. Cavs are going to be just fine. The Guardians have started their spring training out there are they out in Arizona? Yeah, right? Yeah, they're out in Arizona. So they're getting ready for their season opener coming up in a little bit over a month. Wanted to give a shout out to Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders and our boss Natalie, who they've updated our bios on their website. So check that out. We're all characters. The character, what are they? Well, the characters, the caricatures. Yeah. So we all look silly. So check mine out. Read my articles. That'd be great. Go over to Dog Pound Daily, read those articles, support here my gig there with the Dog Pound Daily. What else is coming around the belt? I was going to mention too, the college basketball is coming up to March Madness. I will be covering the MAC tournament coming up there in Cleveland in a few weeks. The tournament starts, I think, March 11th or 12th. So I'll be going up there that weekend to cover those basketball games, men's and women's. Looking forward to that event. Should be a lot of fun. And covered the women's tournament last year. There's lots of new teams this year vying for the championship on both the men and the women's side. Olympics finished. I talked about this a little bit on our Stirring the Pot show the other night, but shout out to all the Olympians who did so well across the globe and here in the United States. Congratulations to all the teams, the hockey teams, the men and the women's hockey team. Were 2 teams that won gold medals, and the women's hockey team has actually won more gold medals over the last several decades than the men have. The men last won the gold, was it 2000? And no, they won it in 1980. It's been 46 years. So give the women's hockey team their props. Their amazing team did some great things. Men's team was awesome too. There's been a lot of stuff going on with that. Unfortunately, the politics gets involved, and it's just unfortunate because they're very talented athletes throughout the globe and in the United States. So shout out to all of them who give all their efforts and did some amazing things these last 4 years. The Olympics are coming to the United States in 2028, by the way. The summer games are coming to Los Angeles. I've mentioned this before. There are going to be some soccer games in here in Columbus. They're going to use the Columbus Crews Stadium for some of those games. So those of you who are big soccer fans or football fans, pay attention to that when the tournament starts here in 2028. The Olympics start here in 2028. I did want to clarify. I was talking to my dad the other day. I shared a story about traveling with, I went to the Olympics with my dad and my sister back in 1988 when it was out in Calgary, Canada. And the story, I got the stories mixed up. The story that when we went from Chicago to Calgary, I had initially said that that flight was struck by lightning. That flight was not struck by lightning, thank God, because the U.S. curling team was on there. I mentioned that, and there was a number of sports writers, including Frank DeFord. If you want to look him up sometime, old sportscaster, sports writer, great guy. But that flight in February, there was a snowstorm in Chicago, and so when we took off, had been delayed a long time, and because of the time that the crew that flew us out that were supposed to take us all the way to so that flight was supposed to I was on a flight that was supposed to go to Seattle, Washington. This is back in like 1982. No, 1983. And that trip, I got confused with the one to Calgary. So on the flight that was leaving Chicago that was going to Seattle in 1983, that flight that we were on was struck by lightning. True story. We circled back and we eventually went to Seattle, landed. I was telling my dad, we were being reminded that we stayed downtown back then in Seattle at the Westin. And maybe you're familiar with Seattle. They're still there, like these twin towers, circular towers, they call them. It's the Westin Hotel. And the best part of that trip was when we got to the hotel, it was very late that evening, like 10, 11 o'clock. They were having a big party, and everybody was dressed up in tuxedos and fur coats and things. And so that was very interesting coming from Ohio on that trip in 1983 when I was like 12 years old, or 13. So it was then the next when we went to Calgary, that on that trip, that flight did not get struck by lightning, but because of the flight, they got delayed. They weren't able to fly us to Calgary that night, so they had to fly us to Spokane, Washington, where they then had to stay in a hotel overnight. That was with like the curling team and Frank DeFord and all that. So that was really a bizarre, crazy event, getting to see them for that extended amount of time. But it made the trip to Calgary all the more intriguing because of that experience. And then we ended up staying with a host family who my dad said he still stays in contact with all these years. That was 1988. So that was almost, 38 years ago, long time ago. But some great memories. I would encourage anybody who has followed the Olympics, if it's one of those things on your bucket list, try it out. Go to an Olympic Games in the near future. Everybody, I hope you have a very good rest of your evening this Wednesday, February 25th. We'll be back on tomorrow night for the Fanatical Elves show itself with Steve Gill, Sam Brennan, and myself, John Suchan. Following that, we'll have Rod Bloom and his brother Jeff. They have a special guest coming on with the Browns Blitz tomorrow night, Thursday night at 9 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. Thank God that the X is finally broadcasting our shows live. We appreciate you watching us here on Facebook, YouTube, and the X. And make sure to listen to us later on Apple or on Spotify or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. We will be there. Type in Cleveland Browns podcast. You'll see the Fanatical Elves, or just type in Fanatical Elves Network, and we'll be there. Follow us, subscribe to us, follow our YouTube page, please. We're growing our brand there. We appreciate you tuning in. Everybody have a very, very good rest of your evening, And remember, too, that's right, keep smiling. Go Browns!